So welcome again to the Alumni Saturday. For those of you who don't know me, but I think most of you do know me, I'm Lionel Tarasenko, the head of department, but I'm also an alumnus of the department. There have been 12 heads of department in engineering science since 1908, and I'm the second alumnus to be the head of department. One thing to say is when I first started as head department 3 years ago now, my first presentation was to the alumni mid-September 2014, and we had about 40 people turn up. So we must be doing something wrong, right or wrong. We must be doing something right because we have now, I believe if everybody turns up, we'll need actually to have some people later on actually sit in LR2 and get the feed, hence the microphone and the cameras. So, but the one thing I wanted to mention is every year we modified slightly. We had the AGM to start with today, which meant that it was really well attended, and that was great. The format changes slightly every year. I get feedback. Please email me and tell me about the things that work and the things that don't work, because this is your event. I was absolutely adamant when I became head of department that we would take part in the alumni weekend. And so, as I said, we started 3 years ago with our first engineering alumni afternoon, and this is now the fourth. And so what I will be doing in about 5 to 10 minutes is telling you all the great things that have been happening in the department in the last 12 months. But actually, all the great things depend on people. And we're an engineering family, and the engineering family starts with the 18-year-old who walks in, I think, 3 weeks from now, the freshers are going to arrive. And some of you will remember what it felt like when you arrived in Oxford and you first came to your introductory lecture to the department on the Friday of week naught. So we start with, those are the youngsters in the family, all the way to members of academic staff who retire. We'll have 3 colleagues retiring this year. Professors Tony Blakeborough, civil engineer from Worcester College, Professor Ron Daniel, who is electrical and control engineer from Brasenose College, and retiring because he's moving on to another position, Professor David Noel from Christchurch, who's going on to take up a chair at Imperial. And during the year, we had Professor Paul Taylor left to take up a chair at the University of Western Australia. So the family extends from 18 to late 60s, and that's very important. And there's a reason for mentioning this, which will become clear, but one of the important things is to think about the next generation always. And one of the things that we're not necessarily particularly good as engineers is conveying how exciting engineering is as a profession, as a subject to study. And so one of the first things I did when I became head of department was to raise some funding. So this is partly addressing your question, and I'll come back. I actually raised the funding from an alumnus of the department who unfortunately can't be here today because one of his own children is starting at university, so he's gone off with his wife to take that child to university. It's not Oxford. But there are other good universities available. So having raised funding from this alumnus, he has funded an outreach officer for the department, Gabby Bouchard. I think she's probably not, oh yes she is, I thought you were still downstairs possibly. So Gabby would probably have smiled at you as you came in. She has been extremely efficient in building up an activity that didn't exist at all to go out and convey some of the excitement of engineering as a profession and as a degree here, working. You can see the numbers, they're staggering. 1,800 secondary schools, youth science conferences, open days. We had another open day yesterday, as some of you may know, working with various organizations that are keen to promote engineering. And the main bullet point is exactly that, showing young people that reading engineering at Oxford can lead to a fulfilling, exciting and flexible career. We need to take that message out, and Gabby has been fantastic. Now, she can't do it on her own. And the best evangelists are our own undergraduates, partly because they will connect with that generation, that next generation, and partly because they are really enthusiastic about some of the good things that we do here in Oxford. So we have engaged 50 undergraduates in outreach work in just the last academic year. And in fact, one of the undergraduates is the person who we're going to celebrate now. This time last year, Matt Greenwood, who had just taken, so going back to June, so winding back 15 months, had just taken Part 1 finals, and had been involved since he'd arrived in Oxford with lots of outreach events. But tragically, Matt contracted cancer, and at the time that he actually took Part 1 finals, what most of you will know, it's actually technically called Part B, but most of you will know it as Part 1 finals. Already the cancer was active in his body, so he was under pain, but despite all of that, he actually had obtained a first-class degree in Part 1 finals. But sadly, the cancer spread. Over the summer, Matt had to be amputated of his pelvis and his right leg, and was given a certain number of months to live by the surgeons and the oncologists. But an incredibly brave young man who actually came back to his college in a wheelchair, was planning to spend some of the time they had left. He had drawn up a bucket list. This is where, part of the family, of course, is the department, but it's also the college in these cases. So his college, Teddy Hall, and two of his tutors are here sitting, were fantastic in fundraising so that he could go through the items on his bucket list. And he was starting to come back to Teddy Hall and be there for dinners and so on. And very sadly, in December, on one of his visits on Sunday, he felt unwell, was admitted to John Radcliffe Hospital, and later on that week passed away. So we lost Matt, a member of the engineering family, in December 2016. But he had such an effect already in those 3 years in the department, a huge effect on his cohort in college, but also here, and the outreach activities. And he was truly an evangelist for engineering. In his hospital bed, he was still trying to recruit young people to come and do engineering. So it's a tragic story, but it is, it illustrates the fact that we are a family, both in college, both in the department, and we have to remember the people that make what Oxford Engineering is. And so we decided as a department, with the full agreement of Matt's parents, Peter and Michaela, who are here today, that we would institute an outreach award, which will continue every year to celebrate Matt's life and to celebrate the fact that, we are very fortunate to be able to study this great subject and really for it to be transformative in many ways. And you'll see some examples in a few minutes of the transformative work that we do through our research institutes, for example. So we set up this award, and we actually got the undergraduates themselves to talk with Gabby, etc., the faculty office, to think about what the criteria should be, and you see them there. Somebody who is always, and this is really reflecting Matt's own strength. When we're looking for people to put their hands up to run an outreach event, Matt was always there. Somebody who would make youngsters, 16, 17, quite shy, not sure whether they should be thinking about Oxford, not sure whether they should be asking any questions, make them comfortable and listen to. Going above and beyond the task that was set. Somebody that was really fun and a pleasure to work with. And those people are involved in outreach. We call them student ambassadors in the department, and other student ambassadors to actually look up to this particular person. So those were all the qualities that Matt represented. And we have identified somebody who also has those qualities, who is actually part of the same cohort as Matt, because this is somebody who finished his 4th year just this June and graduated this summer. So the same generation as Matt, a student ambassador as an exact contemporary of Matt, and has been selected as the recipient amongst our many student ambassadors to receive this first award. So it is an absolute delight that Matt's parents are wanting to keep that connection with the department and with Teddy Hall, and that they've accepted my invitation to come here and present the first Matt Greenwood Outreach Award to Maruti Maladi. So if you'd like to come. We very much hope that the connection will continue, and the family of engineering will continue to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. And it's fantastic to have the recognition of what Matt actually did in his short time with us. There, we hope for years, many years to come. And well done, Maruti, because I know that this is an award that you truly deserve. If you actually look on his webpage, you'll be able to see all the other things that he's done here, including being president of the Oxford India Society and many other things. So he's a very highly deserving first holder of this award. And thank you for coming, Peter and Michaela, to present the award to Maruti.